and it deserves all the credit in the world for how great it's been. Doesn't mean he's changed the game. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Heartfelt Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in today. This is the show that values time, so let's not waste any. So normally I don't agree with a lot of mainstream sports media, even though I do listen to them. But why do you listen to them if you don't agree with them? Well, I'm a sports fanatic, and that's just what I do. Also, they're competition. Keep notes. And I don't disagree with them because, I want to be different or edgy. I usually disagree with them because I have a brain and I listen to what they say and I take in the information and then go, oh yeah, that sounds like bullshit. And something that was brought a lot yesterday was that, the Patrick Mahomes effect. He's making all these teams change the way they have to play. The Chargers are going in for on these crazy fourth downs. That's because they're scared of Mahomes. Something that we do in sports too often is parallels. Like, Steph Curry changed basketball. He forces teams to shoot more three-pointers because of the rate him and his team make them. So because of that, and we all know that, we then make parallels to other sports. Well, Mahomes must be so great, he's forcing other teams to change the way what they're playing. Except, we've had great offenses before, and all great offenses get adjusted to. All great offenses teams play differently. The same way, Derrick Henry is a great running back. Best running back we've had in the league since Adrian Peterson in his prime. Teams will play Tennessee differently than they play Kansas City. You'll play Tennessee differently than you play Tampa Bay. It's a different offense. It's a different game plan. This is why they pay coaches millions of dollars. It's not because, and Patrick Mahomes is special, don't get me wrong, but this is one of those things that just because you're great or just because you're special does not mean you're not reinventing the wheel here. You are in a prolific offense. You have a great tight end. You got a great receiver. You have a great offensive coach. But we've had those before. We've had great offense. We've got Peyton Manning and the Colts. We had Tom Brady and the Patriots. And guess what teams do? They play you differently. They don't want to give you the ball back. And that goes for everybody. We just saw on Sunday night. The 49ers didn't want to give Aaron Rodgers the ball back with 30 seconds, but they did. Does that mean that Aaron Rodgers completely is the first quarterback he never wanted to give the ball back with 30 seconds? No. Do you change the way you play because Aaron Rodgers on the other side? You're absolutely right. The same way you did with Drew Brees, same way you did with those late, great 90s Vikings offenses with Randy Moss. Like, this is just what happened when you have prolific offenses. And usually prolific offenses don't last forever. It's really hard. The longest running prolific offense is probably Peyton Manning in Indy. Like, Tom's run in New England was defensive dominated the first half of his career. This Chiefs run is great, but this Chiefs run hasn't even surpassed in terms of accomplishments, achievements, or even time length, has not surpassed what the last great offense was, which is the give or take 2011 to 2014 Denver Broncos, who set an NFL record in points, got to a Super Bowl, even though they got destroyed, set record for points, put up all these yards, Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas, Manning, the whole thing. Did everything just like Kansas City has. Kansas City's run is what, 3 years? Denver at least got 4. Now Kansas City, you could argue, okay, well, they got the 2 Super Bowls. The remnants of that offense of Denver got to a second Super Bowl. Even though it was a defensive-driven team by that point. Great offenses will always exist. The same way in the NBA, there was great offenses before the Warriors. Shaq and Kobe, the Duncan and the Spurs offense, these are great offensive systems. These are great offensive players. But as great as they were, the game was still relegated to the three-point line and closer to the rim. Not three-point line and out. The Warriors are the first team. If you're too young to remember this, Charles Barkley, one of his things he said forever, you can't win a championship shooting jump shots. And that worked for him from the second he started broadcasting at TNT all the way up until 2015. And the Warriors just shot it to hell in 2015 because they won a title and became a dynasty on jump shots. Just because he did it doesn't mean every time someone's great, they did what Steph did. There is a reason why. Like, they've only changed the rules for a handful of players. It doesn't mean those are the greatest ever to do it, but those guys changed the game, and that's just something that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, as great as their offense is and has been, and it deserves all the credit in the world for how great it's been, doesn't mean he's changed the game. But, I'm just a Chiefs hater, so what do I know? Segueing from that, we don't normally go here this early in the show, but I felt like we needed to because this is a good week for power rankings. Now, I try to base my power rankings off of how far I think these individual teams can go at the end of the season, not so much what they look like here early in the season. So just because the Chiefs are 1-2, they're still a top 5 team in the league. The Buccaneers lost. They're still a top 5 team in the league. But I do think it's interesting, and I think it's a good week to discuss the flaws of some of these top 5 teams. Starting at number 5, San Francisco 49ers. Now, I had the Niners in this spot at the start of last year. This is before all the injuries. I thought this was one of the 3 or 4 best rosters in the NFL. Obviously, they ended up with the most players missing time last year. But this team is really talented. What they showed you on Sunday night is that roster is clearly better than Green Bay's roster. Green Bay just has Aaron Rodgers. But I still think at the end of that game, the 49ers felt like the better team. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams just made great plays. I do think there is something to Kyle Shanahan as an offensive coordinator versus coaching. I feel like sometimes he does coach to prove his offense is great instead of coaching to win the game. I think that's a fair critique of what they're doing. But this roster, top to bottom, Jimmy G, you don't gotta love him, but he got to a Super Bowl, and they look like they have everything they need to get back to another Super Bowl. Number 4, I'm gonna put the Chiefs. There's real issues here. This is still one of the 5 best teams in the league, and on any given day could beat anyone in the league and could beat anyone in the league by 30. But there's real issues here with both its run defense, its overall defense, just some of the kind of cocky nature of, oh, we can run out here and beat anyone. Do we take it that seriously? The issues are real. Now, they still have Patrick Mahomes, they still have Travis Kelce. Teams are, though, figuring out, and they're like, hey, we're going to run this soft shell similar to what Tampa did. We're going to let you run the ball. And the Chiefs ran the ball great against the Chargers. But they said Mahomes can't beat us, and if he wants to try all these fancy throws, you can make your plays, but we're going to get 1 or 2 of them. They got 2 interceptions. They got 4 turnovers altogether. The Chiefs have a horrific turnover ratio right now. You can't win games giving the ball away 3 or 4 times. Team is still supremely talented. This team is still one of the best teams in the league. But right now, for a power ranking, absolutely they should be at number 4. Number 3 should be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I think this team will still be there at the end of the year. I'm not budging off my pick for Bucks and Chiefs for the Super Bowl. But even with that being said, there's real issues here too. This is a defense that, for the majority of last year, was pretty up and down. It got hot in the playoffs, and I believe they will figure it out again. I believe Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians, they'll get it together going into the playoffs. But right now, who hasn't moved the ball on them? Defense is legitimately a concern here. I don't bet against Tom Brady. That's a rule here at Hard Foul. We don't bet against Tom. But the fact is, he is 44. There is issues, especially defensively. So the Buccaneers for this week are at number 3. At number 2, a team I think I undersold the shit out of, and that's the Buffalo Bills. This team, top to bottom, is maybe the best roster in football. Josh Allen bounced back with a great game. Sometimes you can just throw away a game because it'll end up being meaningless in the grand scheme of things. The Chiefs have games last year against the Raiders, throw it out. It didn't matter too much. They still got to where they wanted to go. Throw out week 1 against the Steelers. This is a team that has won their last 2 losses. The Hail Murray from Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins and the Chiefs. Otherwise, besides those, this team hasn't lost. It's 11 of their last 13 games. Josh Allen, these last 2 weeks, has looked more like the MVP versus week 1. Defensively, coaching, they got it all. This is maybe the best roster top to bottom. Number 1 spot for this week, in week 3 of the NFL season, it's got to be the LA Rams. Not just because of what they've shown on the field, but what they look like. Some teams just feel like they have it, and the Rams have felt like they've had it every single game they've got to play this season. Talked about yesterday, the feeling McVay has with Stafford. That's his guy. That's the guy he wants. He had to work with Jared Goff for several years. Not criticizing Jared Goff, but McVay clearly seems more comfortable with Matt Stafford. They can do more things with their offense. Deshaun Jackson's a deep guy to make room for Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in the middle. Still get good tight end play. The offensive line's playing well again. And a defense that has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. You could argue their depth is not as good as teams like Tampa Bay and Buffalo. But their high gear, when they're playing their best in the league. So that is our hard foul, our top 5 power rankings for post week 3 of the NFL season. Honorary mention of my Broncos are 3-0.